I was a night shift janitor at Grayson Memorial Hospital. I took the job 2 years ago. Most nights, it was just me, my mop, and the buzzing fluorescent lights. They never bothered me. But a few weeks ago, things changed. It all started on my third shift. I was mopping the floors in the pediatric ward when I heard something. Soft cries. They were so faint, almost like a child whispering for help. At first, I thought I was imagining it. It was late, and I was tired. But those cries stuck in my mind. I pushed the door open and called out, "Hello? Is anyone there?" Nothing. The ward was empty. In the weeks that followed, those cries didn't stop. Every night, they echoed while I scrubbed the floors. My heart raced each time. Sometimes I felt like I was being watched. I'd catch a glimpse of a shadow darting away, but when I went to check, the hall was always quiet. I stood there, staring into the empty space, feeling cold. The feeling twisted in my gut. I told myself it was just exhaustion. But the cries became routine. They grew louder, almost like they were trying to pull me in. One night, the lights flickered more than usual. I felt a chill wrap around me. I aimed my mop toward the sound, thinking maybe someone was playing a prank. But every time I turned the corner, it just led to silence. Then one night, it all came to a head. I heard the cries again, clearer this time, and I followed them. My hands shook as I reached for the door at the end of the hallway. I held my breath. When I opened the door, nothing was there. I tried to convince myself it was just my tired mind. But then I saw it. A small shadow against the wall, still and silent. I didn't know what to do. I called out, "Is anyone there?" The figure just stood there, staring at me. I blinked, and it was gone. Just like that. I stood in the empty hallway, frozen. Now I'm back on shift again, mopping the floors. The cries haunt me still. I'm scared every time I hear them. It's like they linger in the air. I still don't know what I saw that night. I just wish I could get an answer. I finish cleaning one hallway, and the lights flicker again. I tense up, waiting for something to happen. The cries start up once more, but this time I feel different. I take a deep breath and push forward, wondering if I'll find the source. Or maybe just more shadows. I just want to understand what's going on. I don't think I'll sleep right until I do. As I continued to mop the floor, the cries grew louder, pulling me deeper into the night. I pushed my cart down the corridor, every squeak of the wheels setting my nerves on edge. My heart thudded in my chest, and the cold air seemed to cling to my skin. I wasn't sure if I was being brave or just foolish, but I knew I had to follow the sound. I rounded the corner and stopped at the pediatric ward door. It leaned slightly ajar, and the faint cries drifted out, more distinct than they had ever been. "Please," they seemed to plead. I took a step closer and pushed the door wide open. Darkness filled the room. I reached for the light switch, but the lights flickered, dimming to a strobe-like dance. Panic surged inside me. I felt like I was on the edge of something major, and I wasn't sure if I was ready for it. "Hello?" I called out again, my voice barely rising above a whisper. The cries stopped abruptly, replaced by an unsettling silence. I took a shaky breath and stepped inside. The air felt thick, heavy with a presence I couldn't see. Then I noticed a toy lying on the floor, a small, worn-out teddy bear. I had been cleaning in this ward for 2 years, and I had never seen it before. It looked out of place, as if it had just been dropped and forgotten. My heart raced, more from curiosity than fear. I picked it up, feeling its frayed edges beneath my fingers. As I examined the bear, something caught my eye in the far corner of the room. There was a faded drawing taped to the wall. I stepped closer, squinting to see it better. It was a drawing of a child, a little girl, with large, sad eyes and a smile that didn't quite reach them. Beneath it, in shaky handwriting, were the words, help me find my friend. I stumbled back, clutching the teddy bear tighter. What the hell is going on? I muttered under my breath. Suddenly, I felt a gust of wind, and I turned around to see the door slam shut behind me. My heart dropped. The cries started again, louder, more desperate. I rushed to the door, yanking on the handle, but it wouldn't budge. Panic clawed at my throat. Let me out! I shouted, but my voice echoed in the empty room. The bear slipped from my fingers and hit the ground with a soft thud. That's when I heard it, a soft giggle, innocent and sweet, perfectly out of place in this dark, haunted space. It sent chills down my spine. I turned, backing away from the sound, my heart racing. My instinct screamed at me to run, but my feet felt glued to the floor. Before I could think it through, I spotted a figure in the corner of my vision, a small shadow darting across the room. I squinted, trying to see clearly, but the apparition vanished just as quickly as it appeared. Then everything went dark. The lights blinked out, plunging me into a heavy silence. I was utterly alone. I started pounding on the door, yelling for help, but my voice felt swallowed by the darkness. I could barely think. All I knew was that I needed to get out of there. I stumbled back, desperately searching for a window or an alternative escape. Every shadow felt like a threat. Just as I found my courage, the lights flickered back on, and I gasped. That's when I saw it, a child's handprint smudged on the glass, small fingers reaching out as if trying to escape. I froze. The feeling of dread intensified, wrapping around me as I realized the night had only just begun. I couldn't shake the image of that handprint from my mind. It felt like a warning, a cry for help from the child who had drawn that picture on the wall. The air in the room felt charged, and I could hardly breathe. I turned away from the glass, my back pressing against the cold wall. I needed to think. I needed to find a way out. Then I noticed something shining on the floor near the doorway. I bent low to pick it up. It was a small key, its metal surface glimmering in the dim light. Where did this come from? I whispered to myself. My instincts kicked in. This could be my way to escape. I ran my fingers over it, feeling a bead of sweat trickle down my forehead. I approached the door again, the handle still unmoving. I glanced back at the room, half expecting to see that shadow darting around. But the room was empty. I pressed the key into the lock and held my breath. Nothing. I twisted it again, hoping. Come on. I urged, feeling desperation rise with every second that passed. Just then, I heard the giggle again, echoing behind me, more playful than before. I shuddered, feeling the presence of a child near me. I spun around, and there it was, a fleeting glimpse of that small figure in a faded hospital gown, standing by the bed in the far corner. What do you want? I called out, my voice trembling. But she just smiled at me, her eyes wide and bright with innocence, and motioned for me to follow her. A surge of emotions coursed through me: fear, curiosity, and a flicker of hope. My heart raced, and I felt compelled to follow her. She was my way out of this dreadful place. I made my way toward her. But just as I reached the bed, she vanished, swallowed by the darkness again. I blinked in disbelief, my chest tightening. This was happening. I took a deep breath, trying to calm my racing heart. I returned to the door, twisting the key again. Despair pressed down on me when it still wouldn't budge. Please, I cried softly, I just want to leave. A chilling breeze swept through the room, making the hairs on my arms stand up. I could almost feel the sadness surrounding me. The child's drawing caught my eye again. There were more toys scattered on the floor now, like remnants of a forgotten playtime. It was as if they had been placed there purposely, begging me to pay attention. Suddenly, a loud crash came from somewhere behind me. I jumped, spinning around to see a tray of medical supplies had fallen off a nearby cart. A bottle of disinfectant rolled toward me, coming to a stop at my feet. My pulse quickened as I surveyed the room. Then I heard her voice, clear as day. Help me find my friend. The way she said it sent chills through me. This was not just a plea, it was an order. I grabbed the teddy bear from the floor and searched for some way to contact the outside world. Maybe if I called for help loud enough, someone would respond. I opened my mouth to yell, but before I could make a sound, the lights flickered again. In that moment of instability, I could see the faint outline of the girl standing at the window, her eyes pleading. I dashed towards her, hands extended. Just a few more steps, and I could reach her. But the lights went out completely. Then, silence enveloped me again, and I realized I was not as alone as I thought. I felt a hand brush against my arm. I turned to face that empty space, my heart pounding against my ribcage. There was something there, watching. And I was terrified. I stood frozen in the dark, straining to hear any sound. The air felt dense, like being submerged in water. I could only hear my heartbeat thrumming in my ears. The small touch against my arm had felt so real, but now, there was nothing. "Is someone there?" I whispered, my voice barely above a murmur. My chest tightened with fear. The only reply was a soft rustle, as if something was shifting just beyond my sight, heart pounding. I took a cautious step backward, wanting to flee, but the shadow of the girl and her command kept me rooted. Finding her friend? I had to try. My senses heightened, I focused on every sound around me. Just then, the lights flickered back on briefly, casting a sickly glow across the room. I squinted, trying to make sense of the silhouettes before they disappeared again. In that fleeting moment, I could have sworn I saw the girl's eyes darting towards a corner. My instincts kicked in again. She was leading me somewhere, but where? I looked at the door, still locked and unyielding. The key sat heavy in my pocket. Maybe it was time to abandon it. I needed to follow her. I took another step forward and rushed to where she had pointed. A chill swept over me, cold waves of dread that threatened to drown out the flickering hope I felt. With a deep breath, I reached for the bed. It was covered in dusty sheets, strange objects peeking out from underneath. My fingers brushed what felt like a small doll. I pulled it out, the fabric worn and its face cracked. A soft gasp escaped my lips as I recognized the faded resemblance. It was the same doll as the one in the drawing beside the handprint. "Is this your friend?" I whispered, holding the doll close. But the air was deafeningly silent. The chill returned, wrapping around me like tendrils. I turned, hoping to catch a glimpse of her. I felt completely unmoored. Then, from somewhere nearby, I heard soft, muffled sobbing. The sound was haunting, a mix of heartbreak and longing. I felt drawn to it, closer and closer, until I found myself at a closet door. It was slightly ajar, the shadows spilling out like smoke. I pushed the door open slowly, my breath hitching. The sobbing grew louder. I steeled myself and leaned into the darkened space. My heart sank as the light finally illuminated the corner. It was another child, lost in shadows, their tiny hands tucked beneath their chin. "Please help me," they croaked, lifting their head. Their face, tear-streaked and innocent, mirrored the girl's from before. My stomach twisted that I stumbled back, trying to comprehend this new reality. How many children were trapped in this forsaken place? What had happened here? "I can't leave without you," I shouted, panic spilling from my lips. But the space around me felt suffocating. Then everything went dark again, an oppressive void swallowing the sound of the child's sobs. My heart raced as I swung around, frantically searching. A figure loomed at the edge of the dark. They stepped closer, revealing a twisted smile. The room echoed with a low, haunting chuckle. I was not alone, and this was only the beginning. My breath caught in my throat as the figure inched closer. It was tall, too tall for comfort, and the distorted smile seemed to widen with every beat of my heart. I stumbled back, my instincts screaming at me to flee. But my feet stayed glued to the floor, transfixed by the creature's gaze. "Who are you?" I managed to croak, my voice trembling. The air around me felt charged, like static before a storm. There was a moment of silence before the figure spoke, low and raspy. "Just a friend," it hissed. "Have you come to play?" Panic flooded my senses. "No. I need to find the children." My words felt useless, swallowed by the dark. The creature chuckled again, the sound scraping at my nerves. "What children?" it asked, mocking me. "They're all mine now." Rage flared within me, mingling with the fear. "You're lying. I won't let you take them." I shouted, the defiance surprising even me. I had to keep the children safe. They deserved better than this twisted nightmare. Suddenly, the lights flickered back on, illuminating the room. But it wasn't the same sickly glow. This light felt bright, almost too overwhelming. I squinted against it, but my eyes quickly adjusted. That's when I saw them, dozens of dolls scattered across the floor, their eyes staring back at me, frozen in expressions of dread. I felt a twist in my gut. They were not just dolls, they were replicas of the children I had seen, the ones trapped in this place. My mind raced, horrified by the implications. "Join them," the creature said, stepping closer still. "It's where they belong." I turned abruptly and sprinted toward the door. The figure lunged, a cold grasp catching my ankle. I fell hard against the floor, the impact driving the breath from my lungs. "I won't let you take anyone else." I yelled through clenched teeth even as I struggled to break free. With a surge of adrenaline, I kicked backward, breaking the hold. I scrambled away, frantically searching for anything I could use as a weapon. My fingers brushed over the edge of a nearby table, and I grabbed a jagged piece of wood. As I stood up, heart racing, the creature had returned to the shadows, its laughter echoing in my ears. "You can't fight what you don't understand, little one." I steadied my grip on the makeshift weapon, breathing heavily. I could still hear the muffled sobbing from the closet, and it felt like a lifeline. "I'm coming for you," I shouted, resolved to save them. I rushed back to the closet, aware that time was short. As I reached for the handle, the creature's voice slithered through the dark. "You might find what you're looking for, but can you bear the truth?" I hesitated, heart pounding. What truth? It was a question I dreaded to answer, but one thing became clear. Whatever lay ahead, there was no turning back now. Taking a deep breath, I yanked open the closet door, ready for whatever awaited me. The darkness inside swirled with secrets, and I had to know. The darkness inside the closet felt alive, a thick mist curling around my ankles as I stepped in. Cold air blasted against my skin, and I squinted to see through the shadows. The sobbing grew louder, more frantic. "Hold on," I called, trying to sound brave. As I moved deeper, I stumbled over something hard. I knelt to feel around. My heart sank when I realized it was a tattered teddy bear, its button eye missing. A chill ran down my spine. Was this one of the toys from the children? The thought sent waves of dread crashing over me. "Help!" The voice was soft but desperate, echoing in the confined space. I followed the sound, my pulse racing. "I'm here," I shouted back. But then the sobbing stopped abruptly, plunging me into an even deeper silence. "Where are you?" I whispered, panic creeping into my chest. I felt a tug on my shirt and whipped around, swinging the piece of wood in front of me. "Show yourself." There was a rustle, and slowly, a small figure emerged from the darkness. It was a girl, no older than 6, with tangled hair and dirt-streaked cheeks. Her wide eyes locked onto mine, filled with terror. "He's coming," she gasped. "We need to go now." "What do you mean? Who is he?" I asked, grabbing her hand, desperate to pull her toward the door. But as soon as our hands touched, the closet door slammed shut, plunging us into total darkness. I pressed my back against the wall, my heart pounding. "No! Open the door. The girl squeezed my hand tighter. He keeps us in here. We have to be quiet. He doesn't like noise. A low growl echoed from somewhere within the closet, making my skin crawl. I released the girl's hand, feeling torn between wanting to protect her and my own need to escape. We can't stay here. No. She cried, panic in her voice. If he hears us. I heard footsteps approaching, muted stomps that made the ground vibrate. The creature's laughter returned, low and mocking, crawling across my skin. Do you think you can save her? You have no idea what he is. Adrenaline surged through me. I had to act. I pushed the girl behind me, holding the jagged wood as if it could somehow protect us from this evil. I want to let you take her. I shouted, bravely facing the darkness. And then, everything began to shudder. Boxes toppled over, and the lights flickered back on, illuminating the closet in flashes. That's when I saw its eyes, glowing and hungry, staring right at us from the shadows. The girl whimpered, hiding behind my legs as I stood frozen. I had to get her out of here. Trust me, I whispered, more for myself than for her. I took a step forward, and the laughter rang out once more, echoing with a sinister melody. Time to play. The creature hissed. I felt the air grow heavy, thick with darkness and fear. Whatever it wanted, I couldn't let it have her. I took a deep breath as I readied myself for what came next, but unknown horrors loomed closer, and there was no escaping the nightmare unfolding around us. I braced myself, clutching the piece of wood with sweaty palms. The creature's eyes flickered in the shadows, reflecting glints of malice. What do you want? I shouted, trying to sound defiant. My voice wavered, cut through by the cold, unsettling silence that enveloped us. Want? It echoed, laughter bubbling up as it spoke. I want to play. With that taunting proclamation, the closet shuddered violently, like a beast awakening. I grabbed the girl and whispered urgently, we need to move. Can you find the door? Her small face twisted in fear. I can't. It's too dark. He won't let us out. I felt a mix of frustration and fear. I had to keep her safe, but we were trapped. What do you mean he won't let us out? I asked. He guards the door. The girl's voice tremored. He's always watching. Something deep within churned at the thought, but I pushed it away. I had to focus. I took a slow breath and reached into the darkness, feeling for the door handle. My fingers grazed the cold surface, and hope surged in my chest. This way, I urged her, just as I turned the handle, the laughter intensified. You really think you can escape? The handle twisted, but the door wouldn't budge. Panic clawed at my throat. I shoved against the door, my shoulder slamming into it with a desperate force. Open! I yelled, my voice cracking. The hall beyond was silent, but I could feel the creature's presence creeping closer. I caught a glimpse of its silhouette, clawed hands extending into the light. The fear in the girl's eyes ignited a determined fire inside me. I couldn't let her down. Hold on tight. I yelled and threw my weight against the door again. It rattled on its hinges, the sound mixing with the faintest screech of wood scraping against itself. I felt the girl cling to my waist, shaking against my side. The moment stretched as I leaned in with all my weight. The door splintered, forcing it open a crack. The room beyond was bright, filled with sunlight that felt like a strange comfort despite the chaos, but before we could escape, a heavy breath sent chills down my spine. You think you're leaving my game? It snarled, and the shadows surged forward, filling the doorway with an oppressive darkness. With a primal scream, I leveraged my body against the door, wrestling it open further. I felt a tug at my shirt as the girl stumbled. Go! I urged, pushing her through the widening space, but as I leaned out to follow, a clawed hand shot forward, wrapping around my ankle. Pain shot through me, and I thrashed, but it yanked back, pulling me into darkness. Suddenly, I was falling, and the air whooshed from my lungs. I landed hard on the cold ground, darkness spilling around me like ink. "Get up!" I screamed, panicking as I scrambled to find the girl. "Where are you?" The voice bounced off the walls, a mere echo, but I felt it slip away. Desperation tightened my chest. When I finally managed to stumble up, I caught a flicker of movement in the distance. "I'm here!" I shouted, my voice barely a whisper this time, but then everything froze. "No one leaves," the creature whispered, and as the shadows coiled tighter around me, I finally understood the depth of the nightmare I had stumbled into. Something cold brushed my arm, and I turned to find myself staring into those glowing eyes, full of malice, coaxing me deeper into the dark. I stumbled backward, heart racing as I took in the creature's ghastly form. It loomed closer, the edges of its shadow twisting like smoke. "You belong to me now," it hissed, words dripping with triumph. I shook my head, an instinctive denial against the reality surrounding me. "No! Let her go!" I shouted. My voice was shaky, wavering, but I meant every word. Somehow, I had to protect the girl. "Her?" The creature's eyes glimmered with amusement. "She can't leave. Just like you." With that, it lunged at me, and I dove to the side. The rush of air brushed against my skin as I narrowly avoided its grasp. Desperation surged within me. I had to find the girl and escape this nightmare. I scanned the dark expanse for any sign of her. "Where are you?" I called, my voice trembling as fear gnawed at my insides. Then I noticed a faint glimmer near the ground. I rushed toward it, my hands trembling as I picked up what turned out to be a small, broken toy. Its colorful fragments sparkled dimly in the darkness. I realized it was the girl's toy, a remnant of her presence here. "Is this yours?" I called out, hoping my voice reached her. I clutched it tightly, hoping it would somehow comfort her. A soft whimper came from somewhere to my left. My heart soared. "I'm coming!" I shouted back, rushing toward the sound. But as I ran, the shadows shifted ominously, blocking my path. "No," I gasped, trying to keep my fear from overwhelming me. My legs felt heavy, and doubt crept in. I focused on the sound of the girl's voice instead of the darkness closing in. I finally rounded the corner and spotted her huddled against the wall, her small frame trembling. Relief flooded over me, but as I moved in her direction, a chilling laugh echoed around us. The creature's voice rippled through, "Did you really think you could save her?" I felt the air go cold, the darkness thickening like a blanket around us. "Get back!" I yelled at the shadows, trying to push through the oppressive weight. To my horror, they shifted, coiling and snapping as they parted to reveal the creature, its twisted grin spreading wider. "You'll never escape. This is my domain." Ignoring its taunts, I hurried to the girl, kneeling down to her level. "We're going to get out of here. Can you trust me?" She nodded, tears streaking her cheeks. I could feel the creature's presence looming above, hungry and impatient. "You'll see, sweet girl. You cannot leave without my permission," it sneered, but just then, I spotted a faint glow ahead. A crack in the darkness cutting through the nightmare. It looked like a door. "This way," I said, grabbing the girl's hand as I pulled her up. We took off towards the light, the creature roaring in anger behind us. "You'll pay for this!" it shrieked, and I pushed the girl ahead of me. It couldn't catch us. I refused to let it. As we drew closer to the light, the shadows writhed and thrashed around us, attempting to close in. I squeezed the girl's hand tightly. "Stay with me. Don't look back." As we lunged toward the door, I felt a sharp tug on my shirt. "No!" I screamed, but we were already through. Only, the world beyond was not what I expected. I blinked, and instead of safety, I found myself in a long, dim hallway lined with flickering fluorescent lights. Confusion enveloped me as I tried to make sense of where we were. I turned back. The door had vanished. The only thing behind me was darkness, and I knew the creature was still near, waiting for the right moment to strike again. That's when I heard the sound of soft footsteps echoing through the corridor. Someone else was here. But was it friend or foe? The urgency loomed large in my mind. We couldn't stay here. The air in the hallway felt stale and heavy. As I tightened my grip on the girl's hand, I scanned our surroundings, heart racing again. The flickering lights cast strange shadows, twisting in ways that made me uneasy. I had to get us moving. Come on, I whispered, pulling her gently. But as we progressed, the footsteps drew closer, echoing against the walls. They were soft yet deliberate, and my pulse quickened at the thought of another encounter. We crept forward, exchanging glances. I wanted to assure her everything was okay, but the unease gnawed at me. Each step was a reminder that the darkness lurked just behind us. Then I spotted a door to my right, an exit of sorts. I rushed to it, pulling the handle with shaking hands, only to find it locked. No, no, no. I hissed, panic creeping back. The girl's eyes widened, and I could see her fear mirrored in mine, but the footsteps hadn't stopped. They continued to echo, and they were coming from further down the corridor. Suddenly, the shadows along the walls seemed to swirl again, and dread settled deep in my stomach. Wait here, I said, despite the knot of anxiety in my chest. I had no idea what was out there, but I couldn't let the girl be on her own. I took a few cautious steps forward, glancing back at her, and that's when I saw a figure at the far end of the hallway. It was a person, but their features were blurred and indistinct as if they were cloaked in shadow. They stood there, just watching, and I felt the blood drain from my face. Who are you? I called out, swallowing hard. What do you want? The figure didn't respond but began to move toward me, gliding silently. Something about their presence felt wrong, a predator that thrived in this twisted reality. I turned back to the girl, ready to run, but she stood frozen. Please, I urged her, we need to go. The figure closed the distance quickly, and panic set in. I turned and grabbed the girl's hand, hoping to pull her along, but she resisted, eyes wide with fear. It's coming! She cried. As if on cue, the chill in the air intensified. I could hear the whispers now, sounds that rattled like dry leaves in the wind. You'll never escape, they taunted. But the figure just kept gliding closer, their intentions unreadable. Run! I shouted, yanking the girl once more. This time, she followed, and we sprinted down the hall. I could barely think, my instincts screaming at me to keep moving. Each step felt heavier as if the ground wanted to pull me back. Just when I thought we might reach safety, the lights flickered violently, plunging us into darkness. I stumbled, pulling the girl against my body to shield her. But in that brief moment of disorientation, I heard soft laughter, echoing from every direction. Do you think you can hide? The creature's voice reverberated through the dark, sending chills down my spine. It felt like a veil lifting, revealing a truth I was desperate to ignore. Then, with a flicker of light, I caught a glimpse of the figure again. But this time, they were closer. I could see their eyes, bright and piercing, and dread washed over me. What had I done to lead us here? Please, just run. I screamed, the urgency clawing at my throat. But this time, the girl looked terrified. She hesitated, caught between the nightmare behind us and the unknown ahead. Go! I pushed her forward, driven by a primal instinct. The figure followed, relentless and predatory. I had to get her out. I had to protect her. We ran past doors that led nowhere, the dark shadows reaching out as if to drag us back. All I knew was that I had to keep fighting against the darkness and the laughter that echoed all around. And then everything went dark again. I push on through the suffocating blackness, my lungs fighting for air as I blindly navigate what feels like a labyrinth of despair. The laughter echoes through the darkness, a twisted lullaby that gnaws at my sanity. I grip the girl's hand tightly, forcing us forward, heart pounding against the horror that enshrouds us. The fear that runs deep isn't just for myself, it's for her, the fragile being caught in this nightmare alongside me. Then, suddenly, the lights flicker back to life, blinding me with their harsh glare. I shield my eyes and feel the girl flinch beside me. The corridor stretches out ahead, dim but solid. My instincts tell me to keep moving, but doubt begins to seep in. I turn to look for the figure. To my surprise, the corridor is empty, but a heavy, unnatural silence looms. Is it gone? I murmur, glancing at the girl. She looks terrified, her small face pale as she peeks into the shadows behind us. Please, let us just keep going, I whisper, feeling a mingling of hope and dread. We have to find an exit. Without hesitation, we forge ahead, the air thick with tension. The oppressive darkness seems to cling to us, whispering malice. I realize I've lost track of time. How long have we been trapped in this game of torment? I push the thought aside. Now isn't the time to dwell on it. Moments pass like hours as we rush down the hallway, uncertainty gnawing at my insides. Just as I feel a glimmer of hope, the lights flicker again and go out, leaving us in a stifling void. I feel the girl squeeze my hand, her breath shallow beside me. Stay close, I command, trying to keep fear from creeping into my voice. A low rumble reverberates through the ground, growing louder and more furious. The laughter returns, close and unsettling. You think this is escape? It sneers, cutting through the silence like a knife. The air grows thick, suffocating, and I feel the weight of it all trying to pull me down. Panic surges through me like fire. I can't let it consume us. I push forward, panic fueling my steps as I navigate blindly. My heart races against the malevolent force that seems to curl around my mind, pulling at my sanity. Just when I think the darkness will swallow us whole, I spot a flicker of light ahead. There! I shout, pointing at the glow. We break into a sprint, my feet pounding against the floor, the girl right beside me, the weight of the darkness behind us growing heavier and more desperate. Each footfall feels like a step away from death, the air tinged with the possibility of freedom waiting at the end of this hallway. I can see the door now, a bright slice of light beckoning us forward, a promise of safety. As we reach for it, the entity's voice booms, filled with rage. You can't escape me. It lunges from the shadows, but I'm distracted by the light, the girl's tiny hand slipping from mine. No! I cry, reaching out, but it's too late. The door swings open, light flooding in. I plunge through, the light consumes me, bathing me in warmth. I tumble forward and hit the ground, gasping for a breath that feels clean and alive. I land in the hall of the hospital, bright, sterile, and utterly ordinary. The noise of a busy day fills my ears as if I've awakened from a terrible dream, but I turn around, the other side of the door now blank and featureless like a wall without a seam. My heartbeat echoes like thunder in my ears. What just happened? I whisper, staring in disbelief. The fear settles like a stone in my gut as I realize the girl isn't with me. Where's the girl? I demand, spinning back to the door. But it's gone, a blank expanse staring back, the only reminder of our harrowing escape. The weight on my chest grows heavier. Did I really leave her behind? Is she still trapped in that darkness? I stumble back, dazed as I head for the exit. The hospital feels alive around me, staff busy with their routines, patients resting peacefully. But how could they carry on when I had just experienced that kind of horror? I pause, feeling the unease leach into every sense. As I reach the front doors, a shiver runs down my spine. Something echoes in the distance, a soft, muffled sound, barely perceptible. I freeze. The faintest sound that could easily be mistaken for nothing, but I know it's not nothing. I move closer to the source, feeling the chill consume my thoughts. I can still hear her voice. Help me find my friend. It lingers, haunting and familiar, pulling at me like gravity. Every instinct tells me to turn away, to forget and go. Yet I can't. I don't know what's true anymore. I hesitate at the threshold of the hospital, the world outside beckoning with its mundane sun and routine, but the darkness still clings to my thoughts. What if? I whisper, glancing back at the doors that hold secrets and shadows. I take a step back into the hall. The air grows heavier once more. The laughter reverberates faintly in my ears. And as I move back toward that place of nightmare, uncertainty dances on the edge. I now walk a path between the known and the unknowable, caught in a cycle that refuses to end. Sometimes, I wonder if the girl is still waiting for me. If the laughter will ever cease. But for now, stepping forward makes me question the cost of my escape, the price of the truth still hidden in the shadows. And whether I'll ever truly be free.